This is where it's exciting, because this is why we fell in love with the property, right? This is why you're here. There's something about this particular parcel of ground that resonated with you, where you want to put your stake in the ground and start your story right here. Essentially what we're trying to do when we're looking for a parcel of ground is establish the boundaries of the sandbox in which we get to build our castle. And those boundaries are going to be set by others that are not you. You have your dreams and ambitions, and we want to make sure that those can be fulfilled in the best way we possibly can. And if you buy a parcel of land that is not consistent or allows the thing that you want to do, don't buy that parcel of land and don't waste your money. For instance, what we want to be looking at are the legal restrictions that are going to be governed by municipalities and HOAs. Then there's the utilities and where we're getting those from. And then there's also general site conditions. So if we look at the legal restrictions first, what we have to do is we have to make sure that we own the property that we think we own, and there aren't overlapping boundaries and all that type of stuff. And so an ALTA survey can help you with that. Topographic survey is absolutely necessary, even though you may think your ground is flat. No piece of ground is actually flat. And having that survey in place and in hand, even during your due diligence period, you'll have an idea of what you can and can't do on the property. Do your due diligence. Go talk to the city, the planning department, draw on a piece of paper what you want to or are thinking of doing on the property, and just say, hey, will this be legal? Am I going to run into any issues as I go through this? And they might say, hey, we have a height restriction of this, or you can't put your barn in front of your house, and we define the front yard as this. And so understanding what the municipality's restrictions are in terms of roof slopes, height restrictions, material choices, all that type of stuff, and it's arbitrary from municipality to municipality to municipality, and so you can't expect any design professional or even the people in the planning department to know their full code, because no one actually does, because of how big it is. And then we also need to know, if you're buying an HOA, really understand the design guidelines to make sure that the style that you want to design will actually be permitted. Utilities. It's really hard to live without sewer. It's really hard to live without water and without power. So understanding, most of the time if you build or buy a parcel of land that's a recorded plat in a subdivision, you're typically going to have all of those things. However, if you're in some locations, they don't allow natural gas anymore, and you're having to cook with electric. How important is that? But making sure that you have power, water, and sewer, absolutely critical. Natural gas, cable, all those things, very important also. But if you don't know if you need septic or sewer, you got to solve that right at the outset, because the health department's going to have a lot of say in what you can and can't build. And our overall objective as architects and designers is trying to maximize the overall value that you get from building something on this land. We start with a site visit every single time, because I need to get inside my head what it is that we need to put here, so I can help you maximize the value of your site. We're looking at sun, topography, vegetation, where snow's going to fall or not fall, the views, the inside-outside experience. This is where things really get exciting. It always is mystifying to me when someone comes and says, yeah, we hired this architect or this home designer and he never went to the site. He just started designing a house. It's like, how do you start designing a house without actually going to the site? That's where it all begins, is because you are telling me or the design professional your story in the programmatic requirements that you have. It's like, here's how many people live here. Here's what I want to do with the house. I want the kitchen to face this way. This is my favorite view. Whatever that story is that you're trying to do, where you're staking your claim and you're telling your story, we want to make sure that we design a house that facilitates that. And if I don't go to the site, I don't know how to do that, because I'm just making stuff up. And so everything begins with the site visit. And in that site visit, the things that I'm looking for is I'm trying to figure out, what's my approach? Is it a romantic approach or is it a classic approach? What type of house am I trying to design? If you come with present images, then I can begin to formulate this thing in my mind. And sometimes the reality is, when I go on a particular site, all of a sudden a home will just descend on me almost in like vision form, and I'll just see it all. It's like, oh, I get how this is going to go together. And so at the end of trying to figure out these general site conditions, when we look at it, it's why we fell in love with the property. It's why we selected this particular land. because it has something about it that resonates with us personally.